Oh, so here starts, I think, interesting things. And that's about how I can remotely infect a process. How can I inject a code? You can do a lot of things with that. It depends on which kind of technique you use. You can backdoor process like SSHD or what you want remotely. If you can execute a syscall proxy shellcode through any vulnerability or else, and if you have enough privileges to ptrace or to make other stuff to the target process, you can inject the code, you can make static patching also, you can do more or less what you want. So yeah, useful for worm writing, for stealth backdoor. We will see just later how to play with that. So first technique, the amazing thing is the Linux kernel, when you execute a binary, the .text section where the code is stored is not writable. But when it's charged in the kernel memory, you still have access to the PID through /proc PID exe, and this .text section is writable this time. I really don't know why, but yeah, you can write what you want because it's not used anymore by the kernel. The kernel take all the code in this section, put it in memory, and let it free for you. So you can inject code into it, your parasite, what you want. And for executing your parasite, you have to hijack kind of code entries. Like for read, for example, that was my test with SSHD. Each read are redirected to my parasite. The parasite is executed, and after it's written in the normal read function. So you can, for example, detect your password or login stuff in the read and open new kind of backdoor you want. It's resident in SSH, so that's cool. But yeah, because that's a GOT technique, it's only work with dynamically linked binary, for sure. And the cool stuff, it don't change the size in the process. So yeah, that's more or less stealth. The only way to spot it is using tools like memfetch or else to copy the running process and look around. So the only problem is, yeah, you are really limited by the .text size, because on my experimentation, that's around 200 to 300 bytes only. So for a basic hijacking parasite, you can do it, but that's not really usable. The test code I publicly released is UWSP inject process, which is available on my website, but that's not really the best you can do with that. The second technique is much more usable. So the goal is inserting as many code as you want in the remote process, using two-stage injection with kind of mmap code. So you ptrace the process remotely, you inject your mmap code into the process, you execute it, and it creates a memory zone like the normal mmap do. You can, with this zone, inject your parasite in. You wake up your parasite with signal alarm code, which is really basic. You don't need any GOT hijacking or else. The code is just waking himself every minute you want, no problem. And it works with static linked binary, dynamically linked binary as you want. Like init, for example. We'll see later about init. And yeah, the bad thing is it's modifying the process size in memory, but you can spot it, I think. Yeah, that was not my way. And yeah, the good stuff is you're really not limited. This is your parasite. You can inject what you want. I try with 2 megabytes or a bit more kind of parasite. It was working well, so yeah, you can inject what you want, even big code or okay. So the public code was mmap inject. That's also available on yourworld.org. The code is really working well, so just try it and give me feedbacks if you find something strange. The test code is with connect back shellcode executed every minute. It tries to connect to you and provide you shell access. So that was the work, more or less. But I think most of us are really lazy guys, and I really hate rewriting code with my own library. Really lazy guy. And so how can I use my old tools like nmap, telnet, SSH, what you want? The only stuff possible is LD preload. So what I did is uberworld's schizoexec. That's a LD preload wrapper for all the syscall I written in my library. It's still in development, but really usable. I can use that with SSH. Telnet, I tried with mmap, stuff like that. The only problem you have to deal with is you really can't detect automatically which kind of syscall you have to execute locally and which you have to execute remotely. I mean, you have a tool written with read and write. It's read file, it's read sockets. So how you can deal between, okay, this one I have to execute it locally, and the other one you have to execute it remotely. So I have defines, and I just read the code of the tool I want to use, and I check the defines, and if that's okay, I test it, and most of the time it works, so nice. But if somebody knows a technique to detect automatically which kind of syscall have to be used, I will be pleased to offer him a beer. So, let's see. Oh yeah, my beer. I think I'm too quick, but that's not a problem. We'll talk. I can talk a lot with beers. So, with this library, shellcodes, application, what can we do a bit further? How we can really play with this kind of exploit to do a lot of things in the same time, and how can we rootkit a box or cover your traces in the same time you're exploiting the box. That was the tricks with initfucker. Sorry for the name, I just like these kind of stupid names. So, basically, what I was playing with is combining this syscall proxy stuff with the mmap inject stuff and playing around, and I was searching how I can play with a really non-traceable process and how I can hide my stuff really deep in the system. So the trick is you exploit a vulnerability using a syscall proxy shellcode. Because you have a direct access to the syscall, you can execute your local root exploit through schizoexec, for example. You get root and you patch remotely the kernel using the well-known IDT tricks presented in FRAC 68, if I remember well. So you can patch the kernel directly through /dev-kmm with ASP-LC, read, write, and do what you want to the kernel remotely. I really don't understand any word of German, so maybe you have to drink a bit. Yeah. With, I played with Linux 2.4, 2.6, 2.6.10. It was working.
6.14 it had stopped.
Yeah, surely. And you have this kind of VA-pitch, horrible stuff and other, but that was not the purpose of the talk. I mean, I was playing with the kernel, I was looking how you can do with that. If you can't patch the kernel, try another way. You have a direct access to syscall, so you don't care really about which technique you use, which kind of stuff you use. I was just wanting to demonstrate what we can do with kind of normal, non-JRSec patch kernel or else. But yeah, find your own way, be creative, I think. That's the best way. So, the basic concept of my lightweight rootkit. You use a vulnerability to direct rootkit the remote host during the exploitation process, all is one time. It's really modular because all your tools, all the different stuff you need are locally stored. So during the exploitation process, if you miss something, oh, I didn't play with that, I didn't cover my traces, okay, just launch your client, connect to the parasite, and hide your traces. Yeah, that's modular. If 1 month after you think about, oh, I can do kind of cool thing with that, but I missed something, okay, just write the client and execute it through the parasite. Always the same mentality, really least code possible on the on-end box, yeah, for anti-forensic purposes, for sure, and for the scalability of your kit during the on-edge itself. And what I was playing, I was memory resident, so I didn't let any binary to play for the admin after. So you have a vulnerability working. Here you have kind of evil server with a really bad vulnerability, stupid buffer overflow 1. You write a little exploit to inject the syscall code. Here I use a find-sock IDT patch shellcode for many reasons. I do the privilege escalation if I need it. I remotely patch the kernel to be able to ptrace in it. That's really reliable with 2.4, 2.6 kernel, because if you look at ptrace ATH part of the kernel code, you have this compare assembly code, which is just looking at your PID. If your PID is 1, it don't let you ptracing anymore the process. So you just have to change this 1 in 0. So you're able to ptrace in it and to inject what you want into. So I use a mmap technique to inject. Here is the 800 bytes parasite. So it works. And after I repatch again the kernel, putting 1 instead of the 0 to stay in a normal, to keep the kernel normal and to don't let the administrator try to ptrace in it to see, oh yeah, somebody rootkitted my box. So I repatch it, and all is well, everything back, and that's perfect. So I play a lot with Parasite. That's a really interesting field. You have a lot of problem writing this kind of worm or viruses, parasites, payload, what you want, how you want to name it. So mine is a mix between assembly and C code. Because first I was writing only pure assembly parasite, and that was really horrible to add cool features or what I want. I was obligated to look again at my whole code and do my stuff. So I rewrited it with C code, and the problem is I have to totally keep the independence from the compilation platform. So all the syscall are totally